Hello students, welcome back. I hope you all are doing well at your home. So let us start with our next chapter. Lucy visits her father. You have a visitor, you see, said Monsieur Defarge. So here is a character, Defarge, and he is saying that you have a visitor. What did you say? Here is a visitor. The shoemaker looked up as before, but without removing a hand from his work. Come, said Defarge. Here is Monsieur, who knows a well-made shoes when he sees one. Show him that shoe you are working at. Take it, Monsieur. So now students, this is a story, a very little extract from A Tale of Two Cities, which was written by Charles Dickens. And the two cities described in it are London and Paris. And Dr. Mette, a character in the story, was imprisoned in France for several years. So this is a story about a man who was imprisoned for several years, and now his daughter Lucy comes and visits him, and it is a very emotional extract, students. So let us see what happens. So now the character Defarge says that you have a visitor, and the shoemaker looks up without removing a hand from his work, and he is just looking up and doing his work very passionately. He is engrossed in his work. Show him that the shoe you are working at. Take it, Monsieur. Mr. Lorry took it in his hand. Tell Monsieur what kind of shoes it is and the maker's name. So now they are asking the shoemaker that tell me the name of the shoemaker and what kind of shoe this is. There was a long pause than usual before the shoemaker replied. So they all are asking question to the shoemaker that please tell us who was the maker of the shoe and what kind of shoe this is. I forgot what it was you asked me. What did you ask? So now the shoemaker is saying, I forgot what you asked me. Please, can you repeat? I said, couldn't you describe the kind of shoe for the Monsieur information? It is a lady shoe. So now the shoemaker is telling everyone that this is a lady's shoes. It is a young lady's walking shoe. It is in the present mode. I never saw the mode. I have had a pattern in my head. He glanced at the shoes. What do we mean by glanced here, students? He looked at the shoe, and with some little passing thought, little passing touch of pride. And the shoemaker's name, said Defarge. Now that he had no work to hold, he laid the knuckles of the right hand in the hollow of the left, and then the knuckles of the left hand in the hollows of the right, and then passed a hand across his bearded chin, and so in the regular changes without a moment's interruption. So now the shoemaker is very confused and he is very nervous, and he is putting one hand inside the pocket and pulling it out, and putting another hand inside the pocket and pulling it out, and the task of recalling him from the vagueness. What do we mean by vagueness here, student? Confusion, something very uncertain, into which he always sank when he had spoken, was like recalling some very weak person from faint. Did you ask me for my name? Yes, I did. So now the shoemaker is saying that are you asking my name? So Defarge said, yes, I am asking for your name only. 105 North Tower. Is that all? 105 North Tower? So they all are confused that is this the name of the shoemaker? With a weary sound that was not a sigh, not a groan, he bended to work again until the silence was again broken. So now the shoemaker has given his explanation that my name is 105 North Tower, which was very absurd, and now has started working again on his shoes. "You are not a shoemaker by trade," said Mr. Lorry. So now Mr. Lorry said that you are not a shoemaker by trade, looking steadily at him. His tired eyes turned to Defregger, as if he would have transferred the question to him. But as no help came from him, they turned back on the questionnaire. "I am not a shoemaker by trade." "No, I was not a shoemaker by trade. I learnt it here. I taught myself. I asked leave to." I asked leave to. So now the shoemaker is saying, "No, I wasn't a shoemaker by trade, but I taught myself over the years and I learnt this art." Finally, he had to change the instrument in his hand for his shoemaker's knife. It laid on that side of him which was not the side on which he stood, had taken it up and was stopping to work again, when his eyes caught the skirt of her dress. He raised them and saw her face. So now there is this little girl Lucy who has actually come to meet her father, and the shoemaker actually turned out to be her father. So the shoemaker actually looked up and saw that this little girl is wearing a little dress, and so he stopped all his work with the motion of her hands. She had no fear of him striking at her with a knife, though they had. So now this little girl had no fear that this man is going to hit him, because she already knew that he is her father. He startled at, repeat, he stared at her with a fearful look, and after a while his lips began to form some words. And now the shoemaker is very confused, nervous. He is about to cry, and he is trying to form words on his lips, and through no sound proceeded from them. He was so emotional that no sound came out of his mouth. By degrees, in the pauses of his quick and labored breathing, he was heard to say, "What is this?" with the tears streaming down her face. So now the little girl Lucy is crying to see her father after so many years of imprisonment, and she is crying. She put her two hands to her lips and kissed to him, then clasped them to her breast, as if she laid his ruined head there. "You are not the Gelder's daughter," she sighed. "No." So now the shoemaker is asking her, "Are you Gelder's daughter?" So Lucy said, "No, I am not Gelder's daughter." "Who are you?" Shoemaker is asking, "Who are you then?" Not yet trusting her voice, she sat down on the bench beside him. So Lucy now sat down beside him. He recoiled, but she laid her hand on his arm. So Lucy laid her hand on her father's arm. A strange thrill struck him when she did so, and visibly passed over his frame. He laid the knife down softly as he sat staring at her. So they both are looking at each other, they both are emotional, and Lucy knows that she is meeting her father finally. So she is crying and sitting near her father. Her golden hair, which she wore in long curls, had been hurriedly pushed aside and fell down over her neck. So her long hair are now in front of her face, and she is crying and she is emotional. And advancing her hand a little, he took it up and down at it. So now the father is looking at his daughter, and he is examining her hands, and they both are emotional and crying, and the father is trying to recognize that is she really my daughter? Advancing his hands a little, he took it up and looked at it. In the midst of this action, his mind wandered, and with another deep sigh, fell to work again at his shoemaking. So after examining his daughter's hand, the shoemaker returned back to making shoes. So this brings us to the end of the chapter, students. I hope you all learned and enjoyed this lesson. Thank you.